Saturday morning, time for us to kick off the Experts Program. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us right now. Good morning, Luis.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I understand you're going to have a busy few days here as you're going to a technology conference.
I am. I'm heading off to San Antonio to something called Exchange. It's a big conference that is very IT focused for folks like us who service clients, and we'll be hearing from the likes of Microsoft and HP, Cisco, and I love going to these conferences because it lets me find new vendors, people that are smaller, not as notable, but they have some interesting technology, and I think this year there's going to be probably a lot of attention paid to the impact of the coronavirus.
Right.
Not just to the industry as a whole. I mean, we've talked about it previously where, the supply chain that really originates in Asia, whether it's Taiwan or China or Vietnam, is being severely impacted by the work stoppages and the quarantines that are happening in China and places like that. But more importantly, how technology is being used to help companies deal with the outfall of the coronavirus.
Right. So organizations preparing for something like a pandemic, like the coronavirus pandemic, and there's all sorts of things going on out there. There's scams, email scams and so forth. And Kim Commando was talking about that the other day. She was mentioning the fact that she's seen online sure cures, right? And the reality is there is no sure cure, and that people are placing a lot of faith in online news organizations they've never heard of before, that they've never vetted. I'm sure you've probably seen that as well. And the one thing I'm hearing is that pay attention to what the Centers for Disease Control tells you. And
absolutely.
And avoid these scam outfits.
Cyber criminals never met a crisis that they didn't love. And I've heard of people already getting emails touting coronavirus cures, coronavirus prevention methods, all sorts of things that that these guys want you to click into those links so that they can infect your PC or get your information. And the reality is, like you said, the CDC is really the one place that you should rely on for the most current and up-to-date information. You can also, go to traditional media, CNN, Fox News, MSN, those places, because they're going to give you the straight story. And they're not going to be trying to scam you in any way. If you get emails like that, or if you're online on Facebook or Instagram and you see these ads that tout some sort of cure or some sort of way to prevent infection, stay away from them.
Yeah.
Because right now there's no cure and there's no way to prevent it other than just good hygiene and safe ways of traveling and doing those sorts of things.
A couple things that I heard was that there's been a run on face masks, and because everybody wants one, apparently if you put a face mask on, it won't necessarily protect you from getting the coronavirus. But if you have it or you've tested positive for it and you're coughing and so forth, it can help keep you from spreading your disease to other people if you're wearing one and you cough and so forth.
If you see anybody like today, as I mentioned, where Ronnie and I are heading out of town to go to San Antonio for this conference. And so we're going to be at a couple of airports on the way there. And if I see people wearing masks, which I'm sure I will, I'm going to stay away from them because chances are that those masks are there to protect others so that they don't cough on them or otherwise transfer any sort of potential viruses. Mm-hmm. So you wearing a mask, if you're perfectly healthy, doesn't really provide you a whole lot of protection because the virus is really not transmitted the nose and mouth. It's transmitted by things, at least as far as I know, things like sputum and things that people cough out and land on people's skin.
Yeah, traveling through the air. So let me ask you this. You're going to be on an airplane. These airplanes nowadays, 100% of the air is recycled in there. Yep. What can you and Ronnie do to fortify yourselves from getting sick, even just getting a cold?
We travel quite a bit, and so we've gotten used to our little routine of taking certain supplements and certain, take a lot of vitamin C ahead of time. We do airborne, which some people swear by. Other people will tell you it's just, it's nonsense, but it seems to help me. And we take disinfectant wipes, wipe down our seats and the armrests, and we do a lot of hand washing as we travel through airports. So just make sure you practice good hygiene and you should be in good shape.
There's an old home remedy for this kind of thing that I understand actually works really well. If you make yourself a necklace of raw garlic and raw onions and you wear that around your neck, You will be protected.
It will keep people away, for sure.
Oh, my. Okay, so there's that then. You got to watch out for scams, cures, investments, and so forth. One of the other things, too, is, when we're talking about the CDC, I just wanted to mention this. You know, because you're familiar with .us, .gov, and .mil being official extensions for government websites. So if someone sees an email from CentersForDiseaseControl.com or CDC.com or .org, that's a scam website, because if it's the Centers for Disease Control, they're going to have a .us, .gov type of extension on it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even the local health department, whether it's Monterey County Health or those sorts of organizations, will all have those .gov or .ca as their extensions. So
they have very long extensions.
Yeah, avoid it, delete it, move on.
Okay, good thing to know. Hey, what about, as this thing has been spreading, there's perfect opportunity to keep people away from each other, from infecting each other, and that's doing more telework, working via, with email and with video conferencing and audio conferencing and so forth. I mean, you and I, every week that we do this program, we do it over the internet.
Yep. We have worked with a lot of our clients to set that up. The biggest difference between coronavirus and your typical flu is the way that the government is addressing the issue is if you are exposed or suspected to be exposed, they will ask you to self-quarantine for up to 21 days, whether you have any symptoms or not, which means that for a lot of businesses, imagine if you're a retail outlet and all of a sudden somebody comes into your store and then comes down, is diagnosed with a coronavirus, they may come to your store and say, okay, everybody in here has to go home and stay home for 3 weeks. So how do you run a business that way? But fortunately, in today's world, technology allows for teleworkers, remote presence, a lot of conferences that, a lot of visits that you might have with your clients. Now you can do online instead of exposing yourself to them and them to you. So there's a lot of tools out there that make it much easier for folks to continue to work when they can and stay connected to the office and stay connected to their fellow team workers without having to necessarily go into the office.
Yeah, and that's a smart way to do that, especially. And, it's not a bad idea during the cold season as well, when people are getting flus and things like that, to do a little more of the telecommuting, as they say.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested and wants to know what kind of tools we use and what's available, feel free to give us a call and we'll be happy to sit down with you and set that up. You want to be proactive about it because right now the cases continue to grow. Every day you're hearing about more and more outbreaks. So it's inevitable that it's going to, become bigger and more widespread. So you want to be prepared because otherwise you're going to be caught in a lurch when it finally hits your business.
Oh, wow. Hey, Louis, before we go, I've got an IT question for you. Wanted you to see if you can either confirm or deny this, but I had some work done at the house on my internet recently, and they were supposed to double the speed of my internet. And I noticed that while my upload speed was better, my download speed was pretty much the same. So I called up the tech from AT&T that did the work. I actually had his cell phone number because he had contacted me the day he arrived at the house and said, hey, I need access, so I came home and opened it up for him. But that gave me his phone number, right? So I called him back and I posed that question to him. And he said, well, I'll tell you, are you using Wi-Fi? I said, yes, I am. He says, well, this is the thing they never tell you. When they're giving you the sales pitch for the faster speed, that's based on a wired network connection, having the Cat5 cable or whatever the cable is connected between the router modem and your computer. That's the only way you're going to get the top advertised speeds. They don't tell you that if you use your computer around the house primarily on Wi-Fi, you're never going to see that top speed. Is that true?
It depends. There's an answer for you, right? One of the problems that people have, and we're seeing this more and more, is they have some older Wi-Fi technology that is slower than the actual network connection that's available to them. So, for example, you may have some old wireless access points that max out at 30 megabits per second. And then you get, a 250 megabit internet connection and you're asking yourself, why is I'm not seeing any improvement? And the problem is not the internet connection, it's the older access points that you're using.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that if you're using an access point that's not provided by the provider, a lot of people like Comcast and AT&T will give you a modem that has Wi-Fi and it's designed to be higher speeds. But if you're using a legacy access point at home to connect up wirelessly, you're not going to get the same speed as if you plug your laptop or your computer straight into that internet modem.
Okay.
So that's, I think, what they're talking about is that you got to make sure that you have, that the equipment is rated for the speed that you're getting from your internet connection.
It's a good point. And that particular router has been in the house since, I think, 2002.
Oh, yeah.
So I should see about getting that upgraded, shouldn't I?
Yep, absolutely.
I would probably discover that I would get better performance on my Wi-Fi.
Yep.
mean
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much faster it's going to be.
Things have changed that much in 18 years?
Yes.
That's like a millennium in technology, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's an epic right there.
There you go. All right. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has been our guest this morning to help us kick off the Experts program. We're going to chat again on Monday morning around 8:30, and so he'll join us then. Of course, online, it's alvareztg.com, @AlvarezTG. That's the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.